resources, which is a lot out there. Maryland is definitely open for business and business friendly. They offer so many resources and workshops. The governor's office, a small business, they hold something every last Tuesday of the month on something. And while I knew my skill and my craft, I didn't know the business side. What do? So I decided that I wanted to become certified in the Minority Business Enterprise Program to work with as a subcontractor with businesses. So I went to the MBE program, studied what they had to learn, and of course you get your application. The application wasn't that bad, it was just all the accompanying documents. And every day I told myself I was going to do something. Talk to somebody, meet with somebody, go see something, go study something. Each day I had a goal, even if it was a small one. Each day I had a goal. So before I went to visit my family in North Carolina for Thanksgiving, I took my MBE application over to MDOT. And so I felt like I did something, like it was an accomplishment in just sending that application in. And 4 months later, because there was a delay, the weather, and all of that kind of stuff held you up, and sometimes you get discouraged when you get these holdups, like, is this something for me? But I continued to attend classes, and with Jennifer Funn and small business, I developed a website. I worked with all these different things. I was constantly doing something every day. My whole life just kind of stopped, and so the business became my boyfriend, my man, my best friend, and we spent a lot of time together because this is something that I started being committed to. I started being dedicated to. The more I started seeing things kind of turn around, talking to different people. So then I went back to my relationships in city government, contracting, procurement, proposals, all these different things were just overwhelming. However, like when you're in grad school or you're anywhere else, you study and you learn and you continue to push. So now, didn't hear from the MBE office, and they said, you gotta come in for a board hearing. And I said, what does that mean? Still a little scared, but I realized that was the process that people have to do so that they can understand that you know what you're doing. You can have all these experiences. I felt confident that I knew what I was doing, but I didn't quite feel confident that I was ready to be there. We always start doubting ourselves, and we get a little closer, and we get a little scared because, oh my gosh, is this really happening? Or is this really going to do it for me? So then I went to the MBE hearing, and you got all these board members, very intimidating. You know your stuff, but then you got all these people looking at you, asking you these questions that you know, but then all of a sudden you start getting stumped. For some reason, it's, all of a sudden it gets real scary, like you're in La La Land. You come Alice in Wonderland and sitting there, but it went well. I took a deep breath, and you constantly got to talk to yourself. I do a lot of that. Because you have to keep telling yourself, because you're going to have people who don't and won't understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Everybody like, you got to go get a job. I was offered jobs. You know, you got to sustain yourself. You got to do this. But prayer is wonderful. Prayer, and with Jesus and with the Lord and my own gut and my own determination and will, and block out the distractions, the naysayers, all of that, you can do it. So I received my MBE certification 4 months later in April. So I just received that. So here we are a year later. So that was really, really exciting. I went to everything because I don't know how many of you all have your MBE or obtaining it or acquiring it or looking for it. So that's a good thing. So getting that, I attended all the Meet the Primes, because the Primes become your target, your audience. So you met all of them, and a lot of the relationships are already formed. That's why you got to treat people real good, because you never know when you meet them again. I mean, you got to be really nice to people, because if your relationships with people were good and positive, and you help them, people have been so generous and helping me with various things that I needed. Contractors, my co-workers, all of that. That's important to develop those kind of strong relationships, because you just never know when you have to go back and ask someone. And that's exactly what happened. So we collaborated. I'm collaborating with a lot of people, talking constantly throughout the time. So I know I got a few minutes, and I don't want to take up time because we started late, but just fast forward to today. I now have my MBA with the state, the city, and PG County. I'm working working on 4 contracts. I've just been asked to be on a contract with 4 different people, including one in PG County, and working with the Port Authority on stuff, and becoming a consultant with some other things. And that's just based on your relationships, going out to meet people. When I went to an event for Meet the Primes, and I'm talking and I'm telling them all about who I am, 2 months later he calls me and says, we want you to be on our team with KCI and doing some outreach out in West Baltimore. So you just never know, going to those different events. Try to go to as many events as you possibly can. Meet people, and you can't be shy to do this. You can't say, well, I don't feel like it today, or I don't want to go over there and bother him or her. You'd be surprised at your encounters with people, what they can result in, what can happen just by going up, introducing yourselves, talking to somebody about who you are, what you do. You'd be surprised at who would need the services. And there's a difference in being aggressive and being assertive. Be friendly, smile, be polite. And people, they need your services just as much as you want to do that. Hone in on your relationships. Talk to people who know. Talk to people who are already there. I've had lunch and dinner, and that probably would explain the extra 10 pounds that I've been doing over the last year with everyone that I can. You know, just meeting and talking and hustling my poor little car. I mean, I'm hoping that it just keep on going and keep on going, because we've been all over the place. I've been to Frederick to different seminars at SBD, at the Small Business Development Corp have. They have them all over the state. Get on their registration, find out what workshops they are presenting, find out what the small business, the governor's office is also doing. Again, they have workshops every 4th Tuesday down in Crownsville, and they are phenomenal. And I've met a lot of people from there. Get business cards made, trade them, follow up, and just come and find a partner that's doing the same thing that you're doing. I have several partners, and we have encouraged each other, inspired each other, and that's what kept me going. So I left all the other friends alone, made some new friends who are doing the same things I'm doing, and that's what brought me to where I am today. So I'm very pleased that even after years sitting in the seats that you were sitting in, that now I'm here to talk about my journey. And it's been an exciting, interesting, thrilling, scary, wonderful journey as it is. And it's still scary, and you're still going to doubt yourself, but as you move on and you get closer and closer to goals, and you see things manifesting and just prospering and being honored, you will be more inclined to keep on and keep on going. I've stayed up many a nights late, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to put proposals together, being intimidated by these things that they wanted, but it's happened. Perseverance, determination, and of course, praying to the Almighty will always, always make you successful. And remember your relationships as well. So thank you all so very much, and thank you for having me, and I'm very happy to have shared my story. And I look forward to hearing from you all as well about your stories. Thank you.
Okay, that is great, thank you. And again, I met Adrienne last year, sitting there. She became my client, and I invited her to be a speaker. You know, just to share a little bit about myself, I started out as a client at Sbdc. I have been a restaurant owner and a caterer for 7 years, working with the Sbdc. Sometimes when you have a business, no matter how hard you work, there are some unforeseen situations, like the recession. And, you know, when people were losing their houses and gas was $5 a gallon, the last thing that someone wanted to do was ride to a restaurant that's a destination and spend $100 on crab cakes. But, you know, one thing that I had, and I encourage all of you to do, is I had mentors. And that's one of the challenges of women being in business, is having a mentor. But I was lucky. I had 2 mentors, 2 older gentlemen that had been in the restaurant game for a long time. And when I was starting my business, they said to me, they didn't know each other, but just in my networking with each one of them, they said, kid, because they were older than me, kid, you're in business to make money, and the day you stop making money is the day you need to shut those doors, walk away, and don't turn around. That was my exit strategy. And I did what they said, because when I saw that I wasn't making the money that I had projected, and people were losing their homes. People couldn't afford to drive to work. I said, this is the time. I'm a single parent, and I still had to feed my kids. So I closed my doors, and I started my hustle back, because I had been out of the job market for 7 years. But I was living right, and I had been a client at the Sbdc's, and one day I was driving from Cambridge, my phone rang, and it was my counselor at the time. He said, Jennifer, I had a position come across my desk, and I thought of you. I've been here now 10 years, okay? And when I work with my clients, and those of you that are in the audience know that I can be a scary person because, and I don't mean like intimidating, I mean I'm very cautious, you know, and I encourage my clients to network. I encourage my clients to find mentors. And yes, I do give action plans, which could be homework. But it's very important to look at the big picture. So if you don't take anything away from this today, again, find someone that's been doing the type of business that you're interested in. Usually people that are comfortable within themselves, they appreciate someone that's trying to make it happen. So, you know, ask for help. Get a mentor, because I tell you, those words that those two older men, one has now retired and given his restaurant to his nephew, the other person's retired and sold his business. But the things, those 7 years, me working with those mentors and the advice that they gave me, I really also use some of that advice in my personal life. And it makes sense. Okay? So we're ready for our next speaker. I'll stop preaching now. And we're going to I'm asking Ms. Hanks to come up. And Ms. Hanks, I'll let you introduce yourself to the group. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's a group, you guys look lovely, you look sharp, you look like you're ready to get down to business, and I like that. My name is Phadra Hanks. I am CEO of Hanks & Associates. We're based out of Walworth, Maryland. Been in business since 2002. I started with with the Small Business Development Business Center in Charles County at the community college. I dropped off my business plan. I left and went to a conference, came back, and I've just been running ever since. I'm here to tell you how to go about getting money. She told you about her journey, and now she's on the journey, so now we need some money. We need funding, we need capital, we need to be able to do things in our business. You can't do it if you're just sitting on the counter. I, too, was one of those ones that went into a bank, had my portfolio together, and thought I was going to get a loan, and obviously I didn't have what they needed because they told me no. And I had a bank account with them. So I said, okay, well then I don't need this, so let me start shopping around. But what I first did was I went back because I wanted to critique what the bank was telling me. They told me that I needed this, and this. I said, okay, the next bank I go to, I will not hear a no. So what I started to do was I wanted to make sure that I had my portfolio together. I made sure that I had my client list. I made sure that I had invoices that I had received. I made sure that I had my contracts together. I made sure that I had a copy of my tax return. I made sure that I had a copy of my resume, personal resume. I had a copy of my projection, my profit and loss statement. I made sure that I had the company taxes, anything that I could possibly have in this portfolio to give to them. My website, the business where my company, the location, I had gotten one in Washington, D.C., so I had 2 locations by then. I needed capital. I needed to buy laptops. I needed to make sure that payroll was being met. I'm a service provider, so the government asked me to provide positions for it. I provide people to fill positions. So I have to make sure that my employees get paid as well. So that means I'm not getting a paycheck, but my employee's gonna get a paycheck. You have to sacrifice sometimes. I know that's hard, but when you're in business, you're in it for the long haul. So financings come in, you know, you're gonna get profit, but you have to make sure that you're taking care of your business, your taxes and everything like that. So I went to the bank the next time. I went to a seminar. They told me that they had small business loans. We have money to give out. The president just did an initiative to give out money. Well, I was determined that I was gonna get a piece of the pie. I didn't have to have the whole pie, but I made sure that when I went there, that I didn't ask for an outrageous amount that I could not afford to pay back. So I said, okay, what can I do that I need to have some revenue stored up? Some reserve stored up, so if anything happens that the government don't pay you on time, because sometimes they don't pay you on time, sometimes you have continuous resolution, and the government is shut down. So if the government is shut down, how are you gonna get your invoices paid if you caught in the crossfire? So I needed funds. So what I did was I got my portfolio together. I went in, the first time I went in, I was over with confidence because I thought they knew me. But they knew me as coming in making deposits. They knew me as, hi, how you doing? You know, I had a relationship there, but they needed to know that I was a professional and that I was going to do what I said I was going to do. So I'm a businesswoman, and I need to project that I'm a businesswoman. So I sharpened up. I said, okay, let me go online and see, okay, how do you approach bankers so that you can get what you need? It's this game. You can go in there and like, I'm all that all you want to. But in actuality, we're not. Until we sit down in front of that banker and they see us and they see you, they're not going to give you a loan until they know that you can pay it back. That's with anybody. Are you going to give somebody a loan? Prime example, my granddaughter, she asked me for $150. I said, well, how are you going to pay this back? You don't have a job. You're in college. You don't have a job. So how are you going to give me back my $150 to get some shoes? Well, I'm going to pull some weeds. I said, well, we tried that before and it didn't work. You said you was going to pull some weeds before and you had this outrageous amount, $300 for weeds for 2 hours. So, you know, that's not going to work. I could pay a landscaper to do that or get out there and do it myself and save it. So I said, well, I don't feel comfortable with giving you this money. So you need to come up with a plan to tell me how you're going to pay me back my money. She left. She didn't come back. So she didn't get the $150. She went to my husband and says, well, do you think I need these shoes right here? What do you think about these shoes? He says, I'm not giving you no money. Your grandmother already told you to try. Or I have to say, she was persistent. So when I went to the bank this time, I walked in there and I had my briefcase. I said, hi, my name is Phadra Hanks. I'm with Hanks & Associates. I'm the CEO and I'm looking to get a loan. Come on in, sit down. She said, well, how much are you looking for? I said, well, first let me tell you about myself, and let me tell you about the business. Because if you don't want to say, I'm only looking for this much, and they might, you know, if you're looking at your spreadsheet, you might be able to get a little more. If I said 50,000, I really need 100, but I'm going to settle for 50. No, I'm going to tell you exactly after I do my speech, because I need you to know who I am and who you're lending to. And this is what I have coming in. So I can break down my spreadsheet. I can break down my profit and loss. I can break down what's coming in, what's going out, what's going in for insurance, plus taxes. They want to make sure you pay your taxes. And I need you to know what I'm doing. So after I went through, and I sat down for about an hour. I sat down with her. And she said, well, Ms. Hanks, let me tell you what, your portfolio looks perfect. So why don't you just go ahead and fill out? I got 2 loans that we can possibly get you. We can get you a conventional loan or a small business loan. Well, I want a small business loan. I don't want that other stuff because the small business is going to back me up with this. So I want the easiest thing I can get, but I need something. And I ended up getting a small business loan. I walked out of there knowing that I had the small business loan because after I spoke with her, she was just, oh yeah, we're going to make sure we get this. Let me just check over this portfolio. But by the time I got this, I had a lot of information in there. And she was like, oh yeah, this is great. Only thing we're going to need to use is your operational agreement, your corporation agreement. Oh, no problem, I'm sorry, I'm going to email it to you right away. I forgot about that, had one, but didn't put it in the packet. So the only thing I had to do was email her the package. So her thing was, well, we don't see this in your package. I went and got that. You always have to be one step ahead. The internet is powerful for what you need to get a bank loan. So if you go and you're doing a project and you're going to bid on something, and they say, what about your finance? Well, you already have a letter saying that I have a line of credit for X amount of dollars, so I can be paid, or I can buy this product, or I need equipment, so I can get this equipment. And that's how you succeed in getting your finance. Get with your local banks. Get with the banks. I mean, talk to 3 or 4 banks. Know your options for interest rates. Know your options. And this is when you're doing business, you have to go that extra mile. You have to know where you're coming from. You have to know who you sit in before. Do your research on that bank. Know how many branches they have in your area. That's impressive alone. If you know how many branches that they have What was their dollar amount, what they lending amount, how much do they give out for small business? What are your goals? And they even break it down to minorities. So you have to go and you have to do the research so you can know how many businesses that they've given out to. How do you think they met their goal? Let them tell you no. And when they tell you no, you've already talked with 3 banks. So you're gonna go to the next bank. I did my paperwork, I went to 3 banks at the same time because I wanted to see who wanted my business. I was in control this time because I wanted to know what rate are you gonna give me. So you need to make sure that your credit scores is up. Because they're going to want to know who's going to personally guarantee this loan. You're on it. You're on the hook for it. So I had to be, my credit score had to be up, so I had to work on that. You know, when you start your business and you don't have nothing coming in, this is your dream, this is your passion. You know it's your passion, you know it's your dream, because it's inside you. And no one can ever take that from you unless you give it away. There's always a way to help. Ms. Jennifer is doing this, helping you out to succeed in business because she's done the business. Been there, done that with the shop, and now she posted that before. Now she's helping you guys succeed. Bankers, your banker friends is here, is set up. Gravitate to them. Ask them what do you need to do. You'd be surprised how they would really want to help you. The one bank that told me no, I was partners with the guy that they gave the loan to. I left out of there with the no. He was coming in and she said, come on. I got your loan document ready. Well, I wanted to be that person that said, I want to be that person. Come on. We have your loan document ready. All because you did your homework. You did all the documents that they needed in your portfolio. So when you sit before them, you know what you have. And they'll know you're serious because you did your homework. And that's everything. Everything to get it funding. Everything, that's just teaching you how to go out and get more business. Because you have a projection. You're telling them, I don't have this right now, but when I get this loan, this is going to allow me to hire 2 more people so that we can get more contracts or add more positions or do on the front end for your foundation. Because you have to have a good foundation to do your business. And in order to have that, you have to have capital. In order to have capital, you have to have your portfolio together before you sit in front of the loan officer. So the only thing you got to do is follow those steps, go online and see what each bank that you're trying to go to are requiring of you, and get that money. It's there. It is there for you. You just have to make up in your mind that I'm going to get it. And I see determination in you. I don't see no no's. There's no no's in you. I see if one bank can't get it for me, then I'll go to another one. But you don't stop. You keep going. And if the first bank tells you, well, you don't have this in here, or you're not showing this, learn, take that in. Don't take it as a rejection. Take it in as, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to perfect what I need to perfect in order to get this loan. And I promise you, you'll get it if you just follow the steps. You all look great. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you. It don't take long to get my point across.
Thank you so much. That was great. All right, everybody doing okay? Okay, I'm gonna call up now Ms. Richardson, Tabitha Richardson. She's our keynote speaker.
Thank you. Good morning. How's everyone doing this morning? Good. So I am super excited to be here to talk to my favorite group of people, which are women entrepreneurs. So I hope you're just as fired up and excited for being an entrepreneur. How many people in here actually have businesses? Oh, that's great. And how many people are looking to start a business? Okay, that's good. Now, we're all here because we want the same things. We are looking to be motivated and inspired by one another. So today I just want to talk to you and take you just on my journey of being an entrepreneur. She said, ignore her, I can't. Thank you. So now I lost my place, but it's okay. We're going to get back on track here. So now I was saying that we are all here because we want to be motivated and inspired by one another. And I want to take you on my journey as an entrepreneur, just where I started, where I am, and where I'm going. Is that okay? Yes. All right, perfect. So look around. Look around, because most of the people here own businesses, right? And we were all crazy enough to take that leap and start a company. I'm sure you guys have some people in your lives that were like, "You're starting a business? Like, you sure you want to do that? You sure you want to give up that steady Eddie check?" No. So, but not everyone can say that they've followed their dreams and they've started a business, right? Because let's face it, you do have to be a little crazy to jump out and do that. Jump and say, I'm starting this business. So today's theme of Drive Your Dreams, it's really appropriate for us just as entrepreneurs, because that's what we do every single day. We're driving our dreams. And as I reflect over just my entrepreneurial career, I think my dreams have always been there as my guiding light. That's what guides me, and I wake up in the morning like, I have this idea. Oh yeah, I'm gonna start a business. Or in my business, I had this dream, and I'm gonna go in this direction. I'm gonna try and focus on this, that, or the other. But now, some people, I see some familiar faces here, and they know me for having a real estate company. However, real estate wasn't my first business. My first business was a clothing company called Retwear, which I started in New York City. I was 20 years old with a 6-month-old baby when I started that company. Truth be told, there was a lot of people that didn't think I was going to amount to anything having a baby so young. They probably wrote me off. And also my mom. She kicked me out, like, you gotta get out. So there was a lot of people that looked at me and probably said, she's not gonna do anything. But I had to prove them wrong. So, and I know that there's probably a lot of you in here that may be able to relate to that. Maybe relating to having a baby on your hip, having to start a business, and just having a lot going on in your lives. So, and I know that you can imagine that picture, visioning it, starting that business, and having all of these different things to focus on. It's hard, but I love being a woman because women have the amazing ability to multitask, right? Okay. And we have tenacity to get the job done, no matter the situation, unlike men, right? So I graduated from the High School of Fashion Industries in New York, and there I learned how to create patterns and sew a finished garment. It was a trade school. Now they call them magnet schools. So it was really exciting. I was exposed to a whole new group of people. I went to school outside of where I lived. I was exposed to new ideas and new concepts, and it allowed me to explore my creative side. They taught me that I can create anything that I can imagine. That was the first step. When I think back, that was the starting point of me building on my dreams. I learned how to imagine with no limits and create with no boundaries. When I decided to start my first business, I was working as a bank teller while attending John Jay College of Criminal Justice. And I know some of you might be wondering, well, how did she go from fashion designing to criminal justice? Well, it wasn't by choice. It was by circumstances. I just had to do it out of necessity. So things don't always go as you plan. You set a plan and you're like, and then it starts like, right? You have to prepare for that. So when it was time to go back to work after having my son and being out on maternity leave, unbeknownst to me, my job said, like, oh no, you're not coming back here. We're sending you over there. I didn't want to go over there. I wasn't really happy about that. But I learned a really valuable lesson that day. When you work for someone else is always calling the shots, right? And I know some of you started your own businesses because you're like, I want to call my shots, right? I want to direct my path on where I go. And if I fail, it's because of me, not because of anyone else. And if I succeed, it's also because of me. So at that point, I had to make a decision. So I go back to a place that I really don't want to be. Or do I quit my job? I decided to quit my job and start my own company. And that's how Recwear got started. It was a children's clothing line. And if there were ever a good time for me to start a business, that was it. That time was it. I took a leap of faith. I used all the money that I had to buy materials, to buy industrial sewing machines, accessories, everything that I needed to actually start this business. I didn't have a dress form for a toddler, so I used my 6-month-old son and I formed patterns off of him to make the clothes. That was really interesting. But sometimes you have to get creative when you're trying to navigate through your business, especially if you don't have any money. So you got to do what you have to do. And I don't think I really knew what being an entrepreneur was back then. I just had a dream and a passion, and I was going for it. I didn't stop to consider fear. Fear just never entered my mind. I just jumped out there, you know? Whoop, jump. Quit my job, I'm gonna do this business. Didn't think about it. So Recwear was the starting point that led me down this wild journey called entrepreneurship. And after selling my garments at a 3-day expo in New York City, I received a lot of great feedback. People loved what I created, and that was the scary part. You know, when you create something and then you put it out there to the world and you're just waiting to see how they're gonna receive it. And so when they received it well, I was like, oh, you like my stuff? Okay. So a buyer from Macy's on 34th Street reached out to me and she said, oh my God, I want to set up an appointment to see your fold line. They wanted to get my clothes in their store. Doesn't that sound nice? Yeah, it does. Well, guess what? I didn't have a fall line. I spent all my money on this stuff right here. This right here. No fall line. This right here. You want this in the store? I can put this in the store. And then a famous football player came up to me and said, I want to invest in your business. I want to put some money in your business. And if you can remember the rap group from the 90s, Naughty by Nature, they had a store in New Jersey, and they're like, yeah, we want to get your items in our store. Great, okay. So with all of this attention, how could I possibly fail, right? How could you fail? Well, a few bad decisions and a lot of fear started rearing its ugly head. These opportunities that I was receiving were like way beyond what I was able to imagine. People were talking about investing and pricing, and I just didn't know what to do. So what did I do? I did nothing. And looking back, that is one of my biggest regrets, that I didn't do anything. And I carry that with me today. And I've made several mistakes, but I was young and it was my first company. It was about, by that time, maybe around 21. Today, you can find a lot of information online. You can Google everything. Google's your best friend. But back then, Google started in 1998. This was 1994, so I didn't have Google. Google wasn't my friend back then. And reflecting back, I can attribute my lack of knowledge and my lack of support as key factors for why I didn't take that business where it needed to go. It wasn't successful. And although Recware is no longer in existence, I learned a lot of lessons from that company. And, you know, after my company pretty much closed, before it even really got started, fear told me to go and get a job. And that's what I did. I went and I got a job. And I started working for a telecommunications company, and they offered me the opportunity to relocate here to Maryland, so I took it. And by that time, my son now was 8 years old, and I had a daughter, and I was going through a divorce. So I moved here, we split the kids, my son stayed with his dad, my daughter came with me here to New York. I wanted to get a better quality of living, so I moved. I took a risk. But within 2 weeks of me moving here, I almost lost my job. It was just crazy. It was a total different work environment here than what I was used to in New York. So I almost lost my job. And I ended up staying with that company because I conformed. I ended up staying with that company for about another few years. Had a great base pay, commission, and I was making a lot of money at the age of 28. And then I bought a house. Just 2 years in, I bought a house. My coworkers started asking me, well, how did you buy a house after moving here so quickly, right? I started referring them to my realtor. Here. Then after the third one, I'm like, wait a minute. This might be an opportunity for me to make some extra money. And I got my real estate license. I started doing it part-time. And my first client was a friend who wanted to support me in my new real estate career. And then 2007, I decided, you know what, I'm making some good money. Do you guys remember in 2007 what the market was like? Well, before that crash, people was like, you get a house, and you get a house, and you get a house, and you get a house. So I figured, like, hey, I can make more money doing this. I'm gonna have the flexibility as a single mom. I quit. I'm out of here. So I left, and at that time when I left, I was at the company for about 7 years. And I stepped out on faith. There goes that word again. Faith, right? But I had a good ride. A few months in, then that bubble burst. Oh Lord, what was I gonna do? What was I gonna do, right? I had a baby with me, and now I'm out here with no income coming in. I stuck it out as long as I possibly could. My mom was like, go apply for food stamps. And I was like, no, I can't do that. But then eventually I had to go do that. Had to go sit there, had to support myself, had to feed my daughter. She doesn't care that nobody's buying houses. She just wants to eat food, right? So you gotta do what you have to do. I ended up getting another job later on, working for an online school. And, but I've realized that the hardship wasn't just for me. A lot of people were experiencing a hardship during that time. And I had to delay my hopes of entrepreneurship. I had to get a job, right? And I had to survive. Thankfully, I was able to get another job. I worked at that job for another year and a half before, again, I said, I'm taking this leap again. It's just meant for me to be an entrepreneur, I guess, right? But in 2012, my father passed away. And I'm not gonna sit here and act like I had a fuzzy, warm relationship with my father. He was one of those people that told me, I'm not gonna amount to anything. But when he did die, I've realized that life is really short. So, I mean, you need to do what you love, take those risks, and live your life on your own terms. And that's what I did. I decided that at that moment that I would start my real estate career. And it wasn't easy getting started. Taking an idea, creating a plan, and then making it real is a real process. That's a process. And it's within those steps that you lose a lot of people. People lose focus, they lose their motivation, they lose their will. There are several naysayers along that path that's telling you, like, why are you doing that? you can't do it, you shouldn't do it, right? There's always people saying something, right? I'm sure a lot of people in your lives have told you, girl, you crazy. Why are you doing that? But I had to block those people out and follow my own path, what was inside of me. Because no one knows what's inside of me. So they can't tell me what I can and can't do. You have to find it inside of you. There was so much to learn about starting a real estate company, but through trial and error, I figured it out. And sometimes you have to use other people's doubts about you to be the wind underneath your wings and propel you forward. And I had no one to ask questions, no one, or anyone to bounce ideas off of, or ask about systems and technology. I just had no one. I had to make a lot of mistakes along the way. How many of you can relate to that? Making mistakes, figuring out, and just maybe not even having anyone to talk about, not even your spouse, because your spouse might not understand what you're trying to do. And during that first year in business, sometimes it seemed impossible, but the impossible started to become possible over time when you stick in there. There were many times that I did doubt my abilities, but when you're feeling defeated is when you need to show your resiliency. That's when you need to overcome. To get your business going in the right direction, you will need to believe in yourself and your abilities, because the market's going to change, the technology is going to change, people are going to change, customers are going to change, and you're going to have to learn how to shift in your business. Now, I've been in business for 7 years, and I am the owner of Premier Homes Realty. And during my 7 years, I've had some really high points, and then I had some low points. But what keeps me going is the dream I have to help more families in my community to realize their dreams of homeownership, and to also help people who want to start careers in real estate and enjoy all of the benefits and build their brands and leave their marks on the world. And so these are the things that I think about when times get tough and I feel like I want to quit. And what motivates me is when I think of all the people I have helped in the past and that I am helping right now, and all the people that I'm gonna meet, just like people that are here today. And to last in any industry, no matter what industry you're in, you have to plan for the best and the worst of times. And being in real estate for 14 years, I've seen the worst of times, and they are not fun. And with all the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I love what I do, and I love helping people. It's my passion. And through my many experiences as an entrepreneur, no one has been there along for the ride, this crazy ride, none other than my daughter. She's been there with me from the age of 2 when I'm just all over the place. She's been in that passenger seat of my entrepreneurial roller coaster. But my hopes is that she's going to learn from my experience to take risks, to follow her dreams, and to never let fear stop her from being her best self. Never let fear stop her from being her best self. And when I think about the phrase, drive your dreams, there's so many keywords that come to mind. And when I think of what it takes to be an entrepreneur, there are some characteristics I've noticed in myself and other entrepreneurs. Now, breaking down the word dream, some of the words that come to mind: determination, dynamic, dreamer, drive, and different. When starting a business, don't be afraid to dream big. Most of our greatest inventions came from those who weren't afraid to have a dream. They were determined to get their products and services out for everyone to experience. resilience, risk taker, resourceful, responsible. Don't let anyone tell you being in business is easy. You will experience tough times, disappointments, and low points. You will doubt yourself and your abilities to run your business. It's in those tough times that make you have to dig deep to find the strength within you to keep going. People need to hear what you have to say. People need to use the services and products that you have, and they need to experience the services you offer. So don't stand in the way of your own greatness. Expectation, energy, enthusiasm, and demand, expectations, and efficiency. Don't be too hard on yourself. Have the expectations. You are going to fail sometimes, and you will also succeed. Have the mindset that no matter the circumstances, we skipped around. No matter the circumstances, you will prevail and you will succeed. But keep in mind, you will have to be your own biggest motivator and cheerleader. You will be responsible for making things happen. What you put in is what you will get out. Let little effort will result in little success. Your actions will be the most important. There we go. Your actions will be the most important ingredient in your recipe to success. You must take action to fulfill your dreams, and you must take actions every day towards your goals to manifest them into beautiful businesses. Know that you will always be learning. You must become the master of your craft. You should consistently evaluate your business to determine new, better, and faster ways to deliver your products or services to the world. You have to keep the mindset of learning and be humble enough to learn from others and your customers. And my final thought here, I want to leave you with these 3 sentences. Always believe in yourself. Life is too short. Do what you love. And you are the driver of your dreams. So dream big. Thank you.
All right. Well, I know time is running tight, but I just want to share one thing with you guys. You know, I'm also a consultant. So, you know, I work with some of you in the audience and many people that are not here today. But when you were talking about it being hard, I can't tell you guys, as recently as yesterday, I was speaking to a client having a telephone conference, and I could tell she was crying. You know, and that's not the first time that I've had that experience as being a consultant, that my clients are crying. I could tell they're crying on the other end of the phone. It's so hard. It's so hard. You know, the lady I was talking to yesterday, she had a large contract and the person is not paying her. And so how am I going to make payroll? It's so hard. I don't say, are you crying? But I try to say, first I say, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Let's come up with a plan. But I have to tell you guys, the other side is last week a client made me cry. Because last time I had seen her face to face, you know, we were starting our session and I was like saying, okay, now we've met now 70 times. You know, I've been working with you for 2 years and we're trying to birth this baby. You know, we're trying to make this business happen. Well, she called me during the middle of my business day. Her business requires a license from the state of Maryland. And every time I worked with her to do her application, they would send it back. This needs to be done. She would come over and she works. So I would wait for her to get off work and meet her like 5:30, 6 o'clock and work with her until 8. They would send it back. This needs to be done. Well, she called me up last week and said, I got the license. I was like, I was like, yes, she gave birth to this baby. So she is well on her way. So I just want to say again, you know, I've been there. You know, I remember, and my daughter's in the back, and she probably remembers too. I used to cry every morning before I would go to the restaurant. 200 seats, and I have 15 employees. It was not easy. And I had a 5-year-old daughter at the time who, when people would come in the restaurant, she would knock the employees out the way and say, "Hi, my name is Taylor. How many in your party?" And now she's back there 21, but she's still standing beside me. So I'm saying that it may not be easy, but to your point, endurance, to Andrea Barnes' point, you got to keep going, use your resources, and to my point, talk to people and get a mentor, because they will always be there to say what I say now. It's going to be all right. Okay? So we're going to go on with our next person, and I'm going to introduce Victoria Wilkins, and she is a commissioner from the Division of Occupational and Professional Licensing, which needs to be your best friend, DLLR. Alyssa?
So, this is touch. So while we're getting started, sticking with the daughter theme, my daughter's here too. She works in the Office of Small Business Regulatory Assistance at DLLR, so if you call there, she may be one to help you. But she is my inspiration, as is yours, and yours also. So this is the boring bureaucratic part. I don't have this wonderful story like the women that have come before me, but it's the important part, as Jennifer said, because you may need to interact with the department if you are growing or starting your business. There are things that we do that are crucial, depending on what you do. First, I want to tell you a couple rah-rah things. It's a great time to be a woman in business. So these are 2018 numbers, but there are 12.3 million women-owned businesses in the United States. Compare that with 1972, when many of us were either not born or children. Fewer than 500,000. So it's really grown exponentially over the past 50 years. Women own 40% of the business in the United States, so that's pretty exciting news too. Grown by 58% in the past 12 years, and last year there were 1,800 net new women-owned businesses that were launched every day. So good news. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the department that I work for, and then specifically the division that I oversee, which is Occupational and Professional Licensing. So we have 7 divisions. Some of them you may come across, other ones like the Racing Commission that you probably wouldn't unless you're in that business. But we have unemployment insurance as well, Division of Financial Regulation, banking, loans, if you're in that business. Workforce development and adult learning, so a lot of job training, things there that you may take advantage of. And labor and industry, I'll talk about in a bit. And then the division I oversee, Occupational and Professional Licensing. So this is great after a licensed real estate agent. So your license granted through the division I oversee. So we license over 250,000 individuals and businesses. It's mostly individuals. There are a few businesses. Some of the license categories require a business license for that specific occupation. But if you're thinking about general business licenses, that's not us. These are specific to certain occupations and professions. And most of them are governed by boards and commissions, volunteer individuals that are in the industries that they are overseeing. Some consumer members as well. We'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But the boards and commissions will make sure that people are qualified. They'll test them to make sure that they are eligible and meet the requirements for licensure. They will, of course, issue the licenses, establish any standards of practice or ethical standards associated with that occupation or profession. And then we process about 3,000 complaints every year. So if there's a licensed professional that we license who has done something unethical or taken your money or done something incorrect, you file a complaint with us and we'll investigate it. So we don't do any of the health or insurance related licenses in the state. Get to the link here. That's done, the health is done by the Maryland Department of Health, and then insurance, Maryland Insurance Administration. But this website is a really great resource if you are interested in finding out details about whether you need to have a license in the state. It's the Maryland One-Stop Portal. This was put together a few years ago. And you can search any license there in the box, and then it'll come up with what the general requirements are, how long it takes to get a license, what the cost is, and then a link to how to obtain the license. So it's quite an eclectic group of licenses that we have in the division, 25 different ones, everything cosmetologists to real estate agents, CPAs, professional engineers. And the most interesting, in my personal opinion, of the group are the bay pilots. These are the individuals who pilot the ships up the Chesapeake Bay. There are about 63 of them, so it's also one of the smallest groups. Didn't know they existed until I worked here. I saw pilots, I thought of airplanes. It's ships. Don't call them boats, that makes them upset. They are ships. So there are varying things that are required to be licensed, depending on what you're getting your license in. But it's usually some combination of education, training, experience. Most of them require a test, not all of them. And then many of them require continuing education. So once you're licensed, you have to have so many hours every license period to get re-licensed. And of course, fees. We don't do it for free. So this is a link to our licensing website. If you look on the left side here, you'll see all the ones that are listed. So you can click on any of them. You know, let's see, how do I become a barber in Maryland? And there are all these items over here that you can look at on what it takes to become a barber. So as I mentioned, there are other divisions that you may interface with, and if you are starting a business or you have a business, one of them is the Division of Labor and Industry. They have the Maryland Occupational Safety and Health Unit, MOSH, similar to federal OSHA, you may have heard. They will help businesses make sure that their employees are safe and they are operating in a safe manner. So important that you get in touch with them if that's a requirement of your business. They also do the employment standards. They enforce wage and hour laws. So you should know who they are. I won't click on this link, but they're on that same DLLR homepage that you can get to them. And then unemployment insurance. You may be a business that's required to do this. They can send out packets to new employers. They have an employer guide that's very helpful. And they have an employer assistance unit as well. So about a year and a half, 2 years ago, there was a group of us that came together from various state agencies to update the Maryland Business Express website. It was a pretty bad website in helping people with starting their businesses. So there are about a dozen or so of us representing state agencies got together and put all our information in, got it redesigned, and we actually won an award this year. Unfortunately, I was out of town. I couldn't go to the award ceremony, but it was down in DC. The Center for Digital Government gave us second place for being a helpful website, robust, gives meaningful information, and it can help you plan, start, manage, and grow your business, and it's very aesthetically pleasing as well. I can't take credit for that piece. Well, let's see, we've got a welcome from the governor. You click on various things, plan, start, manage, grow, as I mentioned. So good stuff there, too. Shortly after Governor Hogan took office, he put together a work group that I was fortunate to serve on as well that wanted to put together this customer service promise. A lot of times governments don't understand that they're in the customer service business. You all are our customers. So it was important that we put together this promise to guarantee that we are going to give you good customer service, just like you all want to give good customer service to your customers. So that's how this was born. And we try to live it every day and reinforce it. Lastly, I mentioned the boards and commissions. So most of the members are individuals in that profession. So the Board of Certified Public Accountants has some certified public accountants on it. But they also have consumer members. Most of them have 2, some have more. And we struggle with finding consumer members. So you can volunteer to serve on a board or a commission. You don't need to know anything about the particular occupation on which board you are serving. It's nice because it's a gut check to the professionals and it provides that consumer perspective. And it's also a great way for you all to network. So if you're networking, as we've heard, is very important in starting and growing a business. So that's the website if you want to volunteer to be considered to serve on a board or commission. And we have flyers at our table that have that on there. So that's all answer any questions if I have time left. I don't know.
Well, we could take questions, you can put it with us, because you can take questions at the same time as we open up the panel.
Okay, I can hang around for a bit. Sure. Thank you.
Okay, so sorry. Okay, whew, all right, so we're at the time now that we're gonna open the program up to you. I'm gonna turn over the panel discussion to Ms. Debra Brown, who is with the Small Business Administration. The Maryland Small Development Center is funded by the SBA. So we work hand in hand with the SBA and with DLLR. That means that we're your servants. We're here to help you grow and sustain your business. So I'm gonna turn this over to Debra, and are you gonna be able to give the people asking questions a microphone? No,
There's a wireless lav that you could put on, and then you can use the handheld for the audience.
Sure. Okay, I can do it.
Yes, it should. You have to turn it on the belt pack itself. Yes.
Testing. I'm live. All right, I'm live. As Jennifer said, first of all, let's give thanks for her for putting She is an awesome woman, and she keeps telling me to come, asking me to come back every year. I don't know why. And then her partner in crime. Let's not forget Jan. Definitely. These are two dependable, reliable, and very well-knowledge women. But nevertheless, again, my name is Debra Brown. I am a lender relationship specialist and economic development specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration. And we actually guarantee loans through the lenders. The lenders are the middleman between the consumer and the agency. We do not do direct lending. And our role, and I'm going to make this short because I really want to get to the panelists. Our role is to mitigate the risk factor for startups and put it out there. So we have partnerships with the Sbdc, the Small Business Resource Center that's not represented here today. We also have a partnership with SCORE, and as Jennifer said, the Sbdc and other chambers, Department of Commerce. There are so many resources out there. Please make sure that you get my information before you leave. Some of you, we meet on a regular, you know. And for those that this is your first time, you will not be dissatisfied. SBA's goal is to make your American dream come true. And so what we don't have, we will put you in contact with. But some ground house rules. We have a fantastic panelist here. We have 10 people. We have limited time. Okay, they invited me now. So you will not get to talk for 20 minutes about yourself. Okay. Now, what I will say to the attendees, in all fairness, so that everybody can answer the questions, you know, ask their questions, let's not take 20 minutes to answer. And if it's that deep, get their contact and call, go see them. Okay? So we're going to get started. We're going to start to my right, and you will introduce yourself and what it is that your agency do. Oh, and by the way, SBA goes up to $5.5 million. And I'm from the Baltimore District Office, and we handle the entire state of Maryland, except for PG County and Montgomery County. But it doesn't mean that you can't come and see me. Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name
Microphone, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Avonette, and I'm a certified public accountant. So I'm here to just answer questions that you may have regarding the importance of accounting and finance when you're seeking capital. Good morning, everyone. I'm Arthenia, LeFlore from the Maritime. We assist companies that do business with the local, state, or federal government. Also in understanding RFPs and RFQs and KOBA and FAR regulations.
Good morning. I am Angela Wilczynski. I'm with Columbia Bank, a member of the Fulton family. I am an SBA lender covering Delmarva, so Maryland, DC, Delaware, and Virginia. We are a preferred lender for the SBA, so we review and underwrite deals on behalf of the SBA, and we are a top lender. So in fiscal year 2019, we have made over $20 million in small business loans to those lenders. Hi, I'm Stacey Smith with the Columbia Bank, and I am your banker. So I do everything from opening business accounts to lending you business loans. I also can lend up to $250,000, and I work with businesses that are $1 million and under. I also partner with Angela. If there's a deal that I can't do for you personally, we may be able to do it through Angela SBA. So we're here to help you.
Hello, I'm Candace Pruitt. I'm with the Maryland Small Business Development Center. I also work with Jennifer Funn at the Maryland Small Business Development Center. We provide no-cost, confidential business consulting services to entrepreneurs who are looking to start and grow their businesses.
Everybody likes free. I'm just saying, remember that, free. Okay.
My name is Jacqueline McIntosh. I'm in insurance. I'm State Farm Insurance. I've been with the company for 30 years. I'm from the corporate office, but I'm here representing the agents who sell business insurance and provide those needs for the insurers. So I'm here to answer questions about what your insurance needs would be in reference to running your business.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Taylor Beckham, and I'm an attorney from Gorman & Williams. Our firm is a general practice firm, but my practice is particularly in the realm of business litigation and intellectual property matters for small business and business owners.
Hi, my name is Denise Merritt. I am the Outreach and Policy Manager for the Office of Small and Minority Business Policy at the Maryland Department of Transportation. So my office can help guide small and minority businesses to get certified in the MBE, DBE, SBE programs. So any questions about certification, come see us.
Hi, my name is Naomi Shea. I am the manager of SourceLink Partner Development and Technology in the Mayor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women-Owned Business Development. I actually run SourceLink, which is a website so that you can access 24 hours a day that will assist you in various aspects of your business. You can find we have over 127 resource partners that can assist you, and we are aided by the Small Business Resource Center, so they provide the technical support behind our website.
Morning. Hi, my name is Emmy Reyes, and I am the Senior Loan Officer at the Latino Economic Development Center, known as LEDC. And I will firstly say you don't need to be Latino for us to work with you, but our staff is fully bilingual, so we can work with you in Spanish or English. We're based in DC, but we have offices here in Baltimore, Virginia, as well, and we provide micro lending, so loans from $1,000 up to $250,000, and we're considered what's alternative lending, right? So when you get those bank denials, you can start with us, and then we'll help you with some loans to graduate you to a bank later down the road.
Okay, so as you can see, we do have a really diverse panel here, and I'm excited. But look, it's not about them, it's about you guys. 3 things that's very, very important that I remind all entrepreneurs at the startup. Make sure you have a CPA, insurance, and an attorney. Just retain them. You don't need them until you need them. The CPA is a third eye on your financials. Now, I said that it wasn't going to be 20 minutes, but y'all give me 2 minutes here for 1 second. I have over 35 years of lending experience, pre-government. And I'm not going to tell you how long I've been with the government, because then you'll be trying to guess my age. I started in banking when I was 3. But I know where the bones are buried, and I understand how lenders operate, no disrespect. But nevertheless, when you go in and you talk to lenders, you interview the lenders. You interview them, you ask them questions. How many loans have you approved for minority businesses in the past year? What was the average balance? Because understand, they need your money. You don't really need their money. And before, most importantly, don't allow them to pull a credit report on you. It's a hard pull. And inquiries on your credit report can cause your credit score to drop. So because you're just going to the table to talk business, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to complete any paperwork. You're just talking. And as the young lady spoke, Ms. Hanks said, make sure that you do have all of your paperwork and develop relationships with these resource partners. They're not here just for today. They can become a lifelong friend. And just stay in their face. Keep calling them. Don't get an answer, call back 10 minutes later. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's get fun with this. We're going to open the floor for you guys to ask any questions to any, and with the panelists, the questions that are directed that you may be able to answer, then answer the questions. Don't make me start asking questions. Okay.
Question for CPA. There are people out there who want to do taxes and all for
That's why I gave her the mic.
So yeah, I have a question to the CPA. So there are tax preparers, who want to do taxes and returns and all for small business people, but they do not talk much about planning. And unfortunately, you spend money with them, only to find out that you should have done some other planning or something else. So can you kind of walk us through the process of working with a CPA?
So when you're working with a CPA, everything really is about relationships.
You have to get closer to the mic.
Can
We
you-
can't hear you.
Oh, see, I
You
hear
can take it.
feedback.
Yeah, because it's probably. These come out? Or are they glued in?
Can.
They're glued in?
No, it won't come out.
So when you pass it,
Is that better?
you know, yeah, that's a whole lot better.
First, I would say that you can have a tax account, and then you have more of a financial attestation assurance account. And there are some people who do taxes who may not be CPAs, and there are people who do accounting that aren't CPAs. So the lady from DLLR that got up and spoke about professional licenses, the difference is that we're licensed and we design financial statements. But when you're working with your CPA, they'll ask you questions about what your business plans are, what your goals are, and what you're really trying to get out of the relationship. So your CPA can definitely work with you to make sure your accounting policies are in place, that your financial statements are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, because most banks, if you're going for financing, are going to want to see financial statements in accordance with GAAP. If you're starting out, you're a small business, you probably don't want to pay for CPA, right? Because it can be expensive. But you also have to look at what type of investment you want to make, and it doesn't have to be audited financial statements. You have different levels of service. So being able to have your projections, have someone to review that information with you, look at the numbers, see what's realistic. Most CPAs have at some point dealt with a business who has gone through financing. I actually work for an engineering company, and I'm the CFO, so I've been on that side of having to deal with the banks and present to them our financial statements and the request for loans, and bankers need to believe that you're going to be able to pay the money back. Like she said, no one wants to lend money to someone who's not going to repay it. But being able to have your financial information together, knowledgeable about it, anyone that I talk to, small businesses, I always say to them, be aware of your financials. I understand it may not be the thing that you favor. You know, that's not your thing. You're creative. You want to do all the things that you do in your business. But be aware so that when you are going to talk to somebody, you're not always going to have your CPA with you. When you go and talk to somebody, you want to understand all those key terms. So you want to be able to talk about your revenue, your expenses, your projections, your profit margin, what your plans are in 5 years, and listen to yourself and see if you believe it. Because if you're sitting there going, man, this is a really wild dream. If you're here today and you're just starting and you're going to a bank and saying, I'm going to have $5 million in revenue in 2 years, show me how you're going to do that. So it's really about that relationship and being open and honest and understanding what your goals are with your business and your financials.
Also, to piggyback on what she's saying, just because SBA, you cannot go in and request to any lender and say, I want an SBA loan. It doesn't work that way. The lender has to submit the request, or if they're a preferred lender, then they can go ahead and underwrite the loan on behalf of SBA. But one thing that SBA will not do, they will not approve a loan that a lender can approve on its own. The turnaround time, and I'm going to tell it, the turnaround time for SBA's approval on their loans are 3 days. So if a lender is telling you it's been 30 days and they're waiting on SBA, that's because they didn't do something. Now I just told one more.
That's interesting.
It's because they did not do anything. But understand this, just like any lender, they want to be repaid. The government wants to be repaid. Just because of that guarantee, you're still responsible for 100% of the loan, and you will pay it. They don't take your children, so don't think that you're going to get off the hook that way. Okay, any other questions? Yes. No, anybody, you can.
This is directed towards the bankers.
Oh, she did.
Hi, good morning. I'll be brief. My name is Audrey Chambers Robinson, the owner of Anomal Healthcare Concepts, the clinical healthcare technology company. Question for the bankers. Versus a line of credit, which I know that if you don't use it, you lose it, is what I've been heard and told. If you get a large amount as you grow. Now that's really true when you get into the really, really high numbers. And then also, for a company that's transitioning into government contracting, of course, being positioned to present your growth, like you've been speaking of in the audience and on the panel, do you guys have a organized checklist that you kind of recommend to different business owners as a best practice of which direction you should go normally? Or do you just want them to be kind of open-ended, or do you kind of guide them strategically?
So, I'll answer the first question. I'm sorry. So your first question was line of credit. If you use it, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah. I mean, some
bankers, I've heard that if you get like a $250,000 or $500,000, if you don't use it all in a certain amount of time, then you can, get it reduced and things of that nature.
So with a line of credit, you can set it up and you use it and you pay on when you use it, and you can keep using it over time. There may be a length of time that you can use it. So for example, I know with our bank, we have a line of credit that has a 60-month draw, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use the entire line during that time. So you can use it, pay it down, reuse it, pay it down. It's just like a giant credit card that you would have, but it's in a larger amount than what you would get with a normal credit card. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
I just wanted to know as far as growth, when you were talking about just kind of looking at whether it would be the best product to do like an SBA backed loan versus, using a line of credit, kind of strategically looking at my approach with growth and funding.
Okay, and what I would suggest, because you have a 6-part question, nothing wrong with it. I get you. To meet up with them. Okay, because one thing, when you start talking about government contracting, you have to have some funds on hand, some resources on hand, because of that operating cycle. Government pays slow. State pays slow. I mean, I get paid, but they do, and it can cause some businesses to actually go under. So a lot of people that may be interested in contracting, it is a risk. It is a risk. It's the same as what the government administration is pushing now, exporting. They want manufacturing here in the U.S. And there's plenty of opportunities out there to export services and products. But it's a risk, because if you have a product, it could sit in customs for 60 days to 90 days in a trailer. But you still have to pay your employees. Any other questions?
So Deb, I just had one. If you do have a question, just go ahead and raise your hand, because we only have one mic, and so we want to make sure that while you're asking the question, the mic is right in front of you. So for example, this, I'll say young lady, this client here, she asked a question. Right when she's done, please raise your hand and I can come around the room so that everyone has a chance to be heard.
Jan wants to be able to make it from one side to the other side. She's a little slow, so
There you go. Thank you. So I have a question regarding the loan. Of course, I just started up a business that talked about, somebody told me about 7A SBA loan.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I went to a bank yesterday trying to open up a business bank account. So I just mentioned about that. They put me on the phone, talked to one representative and saying, okay, she's the expert on this. So she quickly somehow routed to their own loan rather than 7A. And then trying to understand what's the difference. So according to her, she said, okay, SBA maybe is easier. If you get their loan, it's easier, but we are more like strict, but we have a lower rate. I'm not sure what is the, the thing they never told me.
okay.
Even though I told them I don't really need any loan now, but I feel that.
You're just researching. You're looking for different loan types. Is that not correct?
Well, first of all, I don't really need a loan now.
Okay.
I just mentioned about that. I feel like they somehow trying to put me into that direction, saying if you need a loan, you just a loan from us rather than SBA, even though they are sort of like work with SBA to have like 7A or whatever other type of loan.
Okay, well see, if you go to a lender and they're able to loan you the loan, underwrite the loan, a conventional, it doesn't have to go to SBA. The only time that SBA loans are utilized is if there is a need, if there has been a denial, if you are a minority, if there are some type of challenges, your credit score may not reach according to what their regs and their policies are regarding their board of directors. And so ordinarily, they would approve that loan. Then they can come to SBA, or if they're a preferred lender, they can underwrite the loan on behalf of SBA. Now, the 7A loan is really the main train, you know, for the SBA loan program. And once again, that goes up to $5.5 million. So you kind of understand what I'm saying? If not, we can talk offline and we can talk about the different loan, because there's a lot of loan programs out there. And in addition to that, we have now partnered with the USDA, who works out of Delaware, but they're still countrywide, and they have grants with loans. We don't have grants. Okay, but they handle, this is, you know, it's always a catch to everything. I like free, but everything ain't free. They deal mainly with the rural areas, and the population has to be a certain number.
Work together as a team here.
For certain loan programs, it has to be a population of no more than 20,000. But it's still in certain counties in the state of Maryland where you would qualify.
There's a question.
Hello, yes, I'm sorry, I was waiting for you to finish, so. My name is Kiana Roberts, I'm a mental health professional, and my question is for Naomi Shea. What services does the mayor's office offer, and what is the website for the source link, the URL?
Yes, it's sourcelink.com. We also have a Facebook and an Instagram. We're doing some exciting things about highlighting local businesses and talking about the resource providers that are on our network that have serviced them. What we do in the mayor's office is we create in small minority and women business, we're behind driving the policy. So we talk about how there are late payments and issues with city not turning around payments for contractors who are doing work for the city. So we create policies to assist those things to happen quicker. But Small Business Resource Center connects with SourceLink in that we provide the back-end technical assistance. So if you get on SourceLink and you're looking for a resource partner, we have over 127 from different loan programs to DLLR is on there. We have a business guide section that teaches people who are starting businesses where to go, how to start up there and set up their businesses. Small Business Resource Center, you can make an appointment with them, and they will actually sit down with you and help you write your business plan. We have business plan writing classes, we have accounting classes, all free of charge. It is located at 3000 Druid Park Drive. You can set up an appointment today. On SourceLink is the master calendar that is linked to the Small Business Resource Center's program. So you can click on the link there through Eventbrite. You can register to attend those classes, all free of charge. But in addition, we have sport counselors at that location, and we also have an outreach coordinator named Jim Peterson, who has sat down and worked with numerous people to help them design their pitches with a local pitch competition, which are free money for you to pitch your ideas and potentially, instead of getting a loan, get the $5,000, get a $10,000 opportunity to start up your business free of charge. But we sit down and actually work with you. We are the boots on the ground. What SourceLink is the online version of that. So if you're looking to get a number for to find a certification, or looking to get a number to sit down and talk to somebody about loan readiness. An example of that is Robin Haynes' Operation Hope. She actually has a program where she will sit down with you and prepare you to get a loan. So she'll look at your business plan, she'll help you write a business plan, she'll help you get your finances in order so that you can sit down in front of a bank and be loan ready. She's one of our resource partners on SourceLink. So if you have any questions, the number that is on SourceLink, the 443-451-7160, is the Small Business Resource Center. And you can set up an appointment, but you can also view their calendar through Baltimore SourceLink. Please look at our Facebook page. We also have a YouTube channel that has some of the businesses that we highlight every month, and I encourage you to give a call. I have my
And Jim Peterson is fantastic. How many veterans do we have? Do we have any veterans? Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Are you currently in business?
No, I'm actually in business service, and I work for the state of Maryland, and I serve as an actual consultant to veterans who would like to go into the business.
Okay. Did everybody hear that? Okay.
I'm going to give her the mic in a moment, but I think she had a question.
Oh, okay. I didn't even see, you know what, I didn't see.
That's okay.
Candace was trying to talk to you.
Oh.
I'm just saying, she does that, but you know.
Well, I'm Gina Ford, CEO of Pinpoint Local Digital Marketing Agency, and I had a question about the MBE process, and also I know you provide resources for the SBA as well. If there's a certain place you should start with, anything you should do to prepare before going to your workshop. So any guidance in that realm of starting point would be
Well,
helpful.
when people come to see me, and I'll just answer her for my part here. I'll tell you, don't bring anything. Because I'll give you information. And as Naomi said, I'll give you contacts. You walk out of the office with a folder, probably worse than Jennifer. Plenty of homework for you, resources and contacts. Depending on, you know, we have different materials depending on the business that you're going in.
So for your minority business enterprise certification application, we'll walk you through those documents for your application. So depending on whether you're a sole proprietor, LLC, corporation, you're going to be required to have different documentation. MDOT does offer a free certification workshop offered each month. I do recommend registering early for that workshop. And once you attend that, you can feel free to come, sit down, meet with an Sbdc consultant. We can review your paperwork and documentation. You do need to submit something for every document request. You cannot leave something blank on your document. Even if you don't have a document, you need to submit a letter of explanation. I don't want your application to be submitted as incomplete. And we'll talk about that process. The first process is submitting the application, and then it'll be going through that review process, and then you'll be going to have an interview to meet with the person at your business location. And if you're working from your home office, that's perfectly fine as well. They will meet with you at your home, and they'll want to meet with the business owners. They'll want to discuss your business, your operations, and I discuss little tips and tricks going through your application process, such as including all of your NAICS codes in your original application. Hint, hint. That way.
Hey, Candace, I hate to interrupt you, but Denise is actually the application person, so I just wanted to make sure that she gets a chance to chime in as well.
Denise.
Yes, Denise is there from MDOT, and she does the application workshop.
Please pick up.
Everything she said
Yes.
is correct. The one thing I kind of disagree with is the NAICS codes. There's no limit as to how many you can put on your application. Put as many as you want. However, we actually encourage applicants to focus on what your company can do right now, today. Because as part of the interview process, the officer, they will meet you at your place of business, and they're going to ask you questions about each and every NAICS code you're trying to get certified in. Also, you may have to meet before the MBE advisory committee, and that's what that's the committee she was speaking about earlier that can be kind of intimidating, because at those meetings they will have industry experts in that particular code you're trying to get certified in, and they're going to ask you again questions about those NAICS codes. And if you can't answer the questions they're asking you, you most likely will not get certified in that particular code. So again, no limit, as many as you want, but we encourage you to focus on right now today
because once you are certified, you can always do expansion of services later on.
Exactly.
So it's nothing wrong with focusing on a few NAICS codes for your initial application. And thank you for putting out there about our free workshops. We do offer those monthly. There is a website to register for the workshops. We have the flyers at our table. And I'd like to point out, if you go to the link and the date you want is full or sold out, just show up anyway. So don't not come because it says full. And it's free, so there's really no reason not to come. It's a very free, beneficial resource.
Okay, we're gonna, what, no.
Just a quick question. For those in the audience who don't really know what.
Did you hear that?
Did
Did she just say that was a quick
I
question?
got lost because some people in the audience may not know. I know what it is, so they may not know what the certification is or what they can utilize it for as far as business, so.
I can do this real quick. So there are 4 certifications that MDOT offers. The most common is Minority Business Enterprise. That's the MBE program that applies to state-funded contracts. We then have Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, which is DBE. And again, all this information is at our table. DBE, that's a federally funded program. So Maryland Transit Administration, State Highway Administration, Metropolitan Planning Organizations, and Maryland Aviation, they're the ones who get federal funds to participate in the DBE program. Airport Concessions, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, is AC DBE. If you're interested in doing business with the airports in Maryland, consider that certification as well. And the last one is Small Business Enterprise, that's SBE. And it's like the DBE program because it is federally funded. However, it is designed for prime contracting opportunities only. And it is race and gender neutral. So those are the 4 certifications that we offer.
This is really a quick question. What is a NAICS code?
It stands for North American Industry Classification System. You can go to the census website and find out which NAICS codes you want to get certified in. But for our application, if you're not sure which NAICS codes, you can put down the products and services that your company offers, then an officer can reach out to you to help you determine which NAICS codes would be best for you to get certified in.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Denise Spice. I'm with the State of Maryland Department of Labor and Licensing, and I work with the veteran population. I'm here because I would like to learn more about the actual entrepreneurship, and I'm trying to help and lead more veterans in that direction. So I'm here to gather resources, learn as much as I can, and enjoy my day with you. Thank you so much.
She like that. Okay, I saw somebody else.
Questions, raise your hand. Okay, there you go. Ma'am.
Good morning, my name is Asia Dark with Maribel Enterprises. I'm the CEO. My question is actually about opening a new business and getting loans for that. So can you just lay out like the basic process? Because if you are going into a new business where you may have the experience, but you've never had a business in that realm before, how can you go about getting a loan for that new business?
So there's a couple different steps you can do. So we encourage you to get started by opening up a business account and getting comfortable with that. So if you're looking for a loan and you haven't been in business for a 2-year time period, you could partner with myself and then Angela's in our SBA lending. So we do encourage you to get experience in that field. So if you started in a field of being a realtor and then you want to go into being an architect, you gotta show us how you are going to be successful as an architect. What were you an architectural intern? What did you do to get in that field and draw you? You can't start out just doing it and expect the bank to lend. And we do have a list of documents that we require. We want you to show us, just like everybody has said, show us how you can repay the loan. There will be collateralizing. If you haven't been in business for at least 2 years, we are going to look for that, along with your credit score and all the list of documents that you would be required.
I have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
So if the business that I'm starting is within the realm of what I've been doing for the past 15 to maybe 20 years almost, then how I've been doing it, and now I want to start a business of my own in that realm. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It makes sense. It makes sense what you're saying.
Okay.
What lenders look for, and as well, no, pass it the other way. Okay, but what they look for is known as a history. Okay, that's a part of your resume. Your resume accompanies your business plan. If you were a nurse and you decided you want to open a restaurant, I mean, hypothetically, okay, I'm just saying, you know you don't have any restaurant experience, and so you go in to a lender, and they want to know, the first thing is, how are you going to repay this loan? What people fail to understand the importance of a business plan. The business plan is actually the nucleus for your loan application. The lender will take that business plan and develop a credit memorandum. Okay, that's why your projections, everything has to be on point and feasible and obtainable. From the credit memorandum, now this is inside stuff, okay? Get me if I'm wrong and we'll go into a brawl. But from the credit memorandum, it explains everything about your business. How, with your projections, where you're going to be in 3 years, where you're going to be in 5 years. When you come to see me, I say put where you're going to be in 10 years, you know. But you have to show how you're going to get from point A to point B. And that's it. If you want to go any little deeper, because I said 2 minutes. Did I capture it?
Do you mind if I add something? Just from our perspective, so I work for, sorry. Okay. So I work for a CDFI, which is Community Development Financial Institution. So we are alternative lenders. And I always tell startups that something we have is consumer loans, which are loans from $500 to $1,000. And the goal of this loan is simply to help you repair or establish credit history, personal credit score. If you know your personal credit score is the biggest obstacle that you're facing at this point, we can start with a smaller loan to help you sort of get started. And then if you're a startup with no financial history, we provide small business loans up to $20,000, you know, to really help you get started. And I think that we don't have the requirements that banks often have of 2 years in business, or, you know, your credit score at 640, or business credit, you know, business tax returns as a requirement. We can be a little bit more flexible. We can be a little bit more flexible. If you need assets, if you need to buy a vehicle to transport your product from site to site, that vehicle can be the collateral for the loan, right? So we try to get a little bit more flexible, and I recommend sort of speaking with me. We'll have a table all out over in the other room if you want to speak more about it later.
And we also have another microlender. They're known as microlenders. And SBA has a partnership with them. And I work with them too. No, but it is. If you may not be able, understand, if you're a startup, your business has no credit. So they have to use your personal credit. And the lenders, they're not shy about asking you to put your house up. And let me tell you this, that's really tough about them, okay? It doesn't have to have any equity in it too. They will still put a lien as an abundance of caution. I'm just saying. But this is something cool. Say the wife has the business and the husband is not part of the business. And the husband says, well, I ain't got nothing to do with that business, and I'm not going to pay that bill and whatever. But he's willing to sign the house as collateral. He's not responsible for the loan, but because he signed the house over, you still have the collateral. Angela, wait a minute. Angela?
She's next.
Okay.
She's next.
Okay, I'm sorry, no.
No, I have it.
I'm just, Dan, I'm not
My name is Deshawn Fleming. I'm a licensed cosmetologist, and I am the owner of Debra Hair Artistry. My question is for the CPA. I officially transitioned to full-time as being a hairstylist in September of 2016. And I was incorporating my taxes, my income into my full-time job at the time. So when in 2017, I said, I'm going to do everything legally. I don't want the IRS to come after me because I didn't pay taxes. So I started paying quarterly. But then I want to say either the end of 2017 or in 2018, I started paying myself through a payroll company. So the person who had started doing my taxes at the time told me that I should not pay quarterly if I'm also paying myself. So taxes is like foreign to me. All of that, like math is my least favorite subject. Everything is just crazy. So I just wanted your perspective on that, and moving forward into 2019, should I still pay quarterly? Should I not pay through payroll? Because I've even been told that. So I just don't want to owe the IRS at all. Like, that's my biggest thing.
Okay, so first I will say I am not a tax accountant. I am a CPA, but I don't specialize in tax. I haven't done that in 20 years. And the second thing I would say is it really depends on how your business is registered. So is it an LLC? It's a single member LLC. So do know with a single member LLC, that would just flow through into your personal tax return. It would show up on your Schedule C. And as far as if you're paying yourself through wages, then as far as the money that you're making operating as a stylist, how are you capturing that? Because there's a difference between payroll taxes and then income taxes. And it sounds like you're combining the two, so to speak. Your business, your LLC, is going to have revenue based on all the clients that you serve. It'll have expenses based on the cost to service those clients. And one of those expenses is that you're paying yourself payroll. Now, do you have other employees? You don't have any other employees. You probably don't have to pay yourself then through payroll. That's an added headache. And it probably will be easier for you to just make the quarterly tax payments, because that'll make sure that at the end of the year, what I see a lot of times with small businesses is the business is operating, you're doing great, especially with stylists, you make a lot of money. And then at the end of the year, you're really surprised when you owe several $1,000s in taxes, because you go, wait a minute, did I really make that much money? But you're spending it throughout that same time during the year. So if you're not making the quarterly tax payments, you're going to wind up owing the government the money. The other thing I see a lot of times is they don't always file their tax returns. It's, well, I'm a couple years behind. I'm going to get it together sometime soon. I don't think I'll owe anything. So throughout the year, make sure you keep good books. So keep records of your services. If you're using StyleSeed or one of the other booking apps, I know a lot of times they provide links to being able to do the financials for your business. So it's not as difficult as it may have been years ago when you were doing everything by paper. And then I also hear stylists debate on how much they need to recognize. How honest are you in reporting your earnings? And you're supposed to report everything that you earn, as people laugh in the audience. And I say to the stylists that I've known for a long time, when you start to think about expanding, because yes, you're a stylist, but maybe you want to get to the point where you like to franchise your business. If you start off not reporting accurately, if you are hiding some of that income, and then you want to go to a bank and convince them that your business can do great, but what they see is your business hasn't been doing great. You've barely been scraping by because you haven't been reporting all of your revenue since you're a cash-based business. Think about the long term and the planning that you want to do. So where you are right now and what you're reporting, it really should be accurate. That way, you can convince someone that this is a viable business, it's profitable, and I can do a lot more things in case I want to open other businesses.
And she is 175% correct, because actually you end up shooting yourself in the foot. You know.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I'm really enjoying this. This is my first time here. My name's Terry Johnson.
Welcome. We're
Thank
so
you.
happy to have you here.
Terry Johnson, Clinical Consultative Services. And I have a question for the lawyer and also some of the other resources. What I found is lawyers are very expensive, and you deserve it, so I'm not, taking away from that. But for beginners or folks that are not making 7 figures, what resources, if you're trying to find ways to protect your intellectual properties, or if you're publishing, trying to self-publish and write curricula or anything like that, what do you all suggest in terms of resources?
Sure. Excuse my voice, sorry, I have a sore throat today. But I will say, so there's the Maryland People's Law Library, and on that website there are different articles. I'm not so sure if they have beefed up the business portion of the law library, but there's articles on there written by attorneys like, are you facing this issue? Are you facing this? So that's a good resource maybe to get pointed in the right direction. And I do understand when you're starting a business, your first thought may not be, and it shouldn't be, let me go get a lawyer on retainer for $20,000. A lot of law firms, my law firm included, offer specific services on a flat fee basis. So talking to different law firms, because I don't suggest going online and downloading an operating agreement and using that as your operating agreement. That's setting yourself up for issues down the line, especially if you're not particularly a sole member LLC, you have a partner, you're a multi-member LLC. We strongly encourage having an operating agreement, and that operating agreement you want to be customized to your business, because what that does is it sets out the rules. And if you've just downloaded something offline, the rules, you may be playing by someone else's rules and you don't even know it. So talking to different attorneys, I do think the Maryland People's Law Library, you can just Google different topics. That is a good place to start, but ultimately you do want to work with an attorney to have different services provided to you on maybe a flat fee basis. As far as your intellectual property and protecting that, again, the first thing you want to do is talk to your bankers, get your CPA, talk to a lawyer to set up your business if you haven't set it up already, to do business formation. That's definitely something that you want to do out at the outset. But when it comes to IP, that may be the second tier option if you want to phase out what you're doing. And I know it's a business judgment for a lot of business owners, because people say, well, I don't want to start using this logo, I don't want to start using this name, and someone steal it. And it is a time thing, and you do run that risk, but one of the great things, especially in the field of trademarks, is you gain rights in it as soon as you use it. It's a little bit more expensive to protect it if you haven't paid the money to go and get a federal registration, but at the outset, I wouldn't say that that's something as a startup that you'd want to dump money into at first. So I'd suggest a tiered approach, and just working with different attorneys and making sure that you can work through the expenses.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, if you're willing to make the commute to DC, there's the DC Bar Pro Bono, and you can just Google that, but they have a small business monthly workshops where you can meet with a lawyer for up to 2.5 hours for free. You can take any legal documents or anything that you have, if you have an operating agreement, or if you don't have one but you want to work on one. I think it's a really great idea to go and meet with this lawyer. They sort of can steer you in the right direction. They can't sort of write your operating agreement for you, But they can save you that time so that you can have a lot of questions already answered, so that when you do go to the lawyer that you're paying $400 an hour, you make the most of that hour. And these workshops are monthly, so I don't know if Maryland has...
I was going to say, that is one thing that, yes, the DC Pro Bono workshop is really good, but you can also go to the clinics here. Baltimore, Maryland has 2 law schools. So there's the University of Baltimore Community Development Clinic. They do, they work with small businesses, and that, they may be based on need, but I would encourage you to reach out to that and see what the requirements are to participate in that clinic. The University of Maryland also has a clinic, and what these clinics are, they're law students who've been sworn in to practice law for that specific semester, and they're working under the supervision of an attorney, their instructor. So that's another option too, if you want to do that. The DC Pro Bono Resource Center is really good as well, but there are options like that in Maryland, here in Baltimore.
Okay, one thing that's really, really important, when you get into the financial world, when you're signing legal documents, you want to make sure that you are protected and you understand exactly what it is you're signing and why you have to sign. So please take advantage of all of these opportunities.
Thank you, Debra. My name is Angela Aizier. I'm a loan officer for Enterprise Development Group. We are one of the other alternative lenders. Just like ADDC, we are CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution. We are also a nonprofit. We are SBA lenders. I just wanted to add that in addition to the banks, do shop around amongst the alternative lenders or CDFIs, because like she said, our requirements may not be as prohibitive. In addition to wanting those numbers, our core mandate really is also to see that communities grow, and we believe that small businesses are a critical component of that. So in addition to loans, we also provide technical assistance. And if we are not able to help you with your business plan, cash flows, maybe because as nonprofits, our funding sometimes is limited, so we may not have the capacity. However, we work with every other resources that is available and free in the city. I'm always at Debra's door. We work with the mayor's office. They're very helpful. The services are free, and they will get you to where you need to go for free and within short amounts of time than if you paid for the service. I just wanted to say that for people that want to start a business, our loan amounts starts from $500 and our upper limit is $50,000. So we're really micro. But if you're in that space where you need $10,000, $20,000, $5,000, $1,000, there are people in the room, I and LEDC, but other services in the city that may be able to help you. Also, do not be afraid to examine yourself. If you don't know your credit, don't be afraid to look at your credit report. Should I say don't be afraid to know your truth? Look at what it is that you are, and then reach out to people that will help you improve. That is so important, because I have so many people that come to me and are so unsure of themselves, and I'm telling them, if you have an idea, let's talk about it. When you give someone affirmation, when you tell them, that I've worked with somebody else that was exactly where you are 2 years ago, and they're at a different level now, it gives them confidence. So if you have a great idea, God has put it in your heart. There's a reason why it's there. Go out. Don't be afraid. Know what your strengths are and your weaknesses, and go out and get the support that you need. Just don't sit down and don't let fear stop you in your tracks.
I just want to piggyback off of that, because one of the loans that she provided, we featured the business of the month on SourceLink. So they were finesselifestyle.com, and they actually provided them with a microloan. And so we highlighted that, but what you said was extremely important. We are a referral network. If we can't do it, we will refer you to who can. We will put you in the right place and with the right individuals that can help you make it happen. So you can get our contact information. I told you we have over 127 resource providers on SourceLink, and if we can't help you, we will put you in touch with who can.
Ain't that awesome? That is really awesome. Failure is not an option unless you choose to fail. Okay. All right.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sandy, and I have had 4 businesses in my lifetime.
Oh.
I am a June baby like Jan. I'll be 59 at the end of this week. But I came here at the suggestion of Miss Jennifer I met two of these wonderful ladies in Laurel at POAG, and I'm so glad that I did not give up. I do not have a give-up spirit. You can't have a give-up spirit. But I came here for exploratory measures for myself and my niece, who's 38 years old, and she's a 5-year breast cancer survivor. She does nails for all of those hip-hop people that we see on TV in New York City. My New York City sister here. And she wants to open up her own nail salon. And I've been encouraging her to do that. So I found out some information on PBS a couple of months ago, and this may be of help. This is a wealth of information in this room, and I'm so grateful and so motivated. I'm just bursting with excitement for this new transition in my life. I don't know what God has for me, but whatever it is he has for me, I'm going to listen to him first. But there was a documentary on PBS, and it was about this black woman who, she's a venture capitalist, and her whole purpose, according to her, is to give money to women of color, black, brown, and in between, and it's called www.backstageventurecapitalist.com. And someone challenged her. I mean, she's in the circles of Bill Gates and Melinda Gates and Warren Buffett. She's in their circles, but you wouldn't know it. She's out on the West Coast, but she covers wherever you are. And so I encourage you to, I mean, some people have their ideas about venture capitalists as opposed to banking, but just a tidbit. Because when I researched her, I found out so much information, and I sent it to my niece, and she said, "Oh, Sandy, this is just wonderful." And it's again, it's www.backstageventurecapitalist.com. One of the rich men challenged her to get 80 business contracts, well, not contracts, give money to 80 before 2018, and she did 100. 100 businesses up, running, and successful because of her challenge. So I just wanted to pass that information on to you all.
Okay, thank you. Now, understand, in the networking side of things, the government, on behalf of the federal government and the state level, there is, unless you see the federal government's logo or backing, then they have no liability with those entities. So it's just like if you have a business, the government has no liability because you speak of your business. So just be careful. I'm not saying that because of what you said, but realistically, we cannot back the venture capital because we don't sponsor it. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So anybody that would want to go, and I have to say this because this is live, okay? If you go in that direction, that's your choice. That's not SBA or any of our resource partners. That anybody here that's sitting on this panel that's advising you, that will be advising you and taking on a liability for that, okay? So let's move on. We have another question?
Really quick comment. My name is Bianca Wise, and I'm president of Home Helpers Home Care Maryland. And I want to stress that the resources that you need are really in this room. Like, there is no reason to get overwhelmed and feel frustrated and like, where do I go? 8 months ago, I was a lieutenant for Baltimore County Fire Department. I walked into work one day and I was like, I'm over this. So I submitted a resignation letter, and I transitioned into becoming a franchisee. The very first person that I reached out to, because I already knew that I was not prepared for a bank. And somehow in the circle, I connected with Angela from Enterprise Development Group. They funded me. Okay, I connected with Janice from DLLR. They gave me support in by way of the Maryland Job Centers, where I can go professionally to host orientations for employees, interviewing skills, interviewing days, so I don't have to conduct my interviews in a coffee shop or Panera Bread. And so the wealth, and also the young lady from MDOT, I had my interview for my MBE certification 2 weeks ago. It's just getting connected into this wealth of resources. I cannot stress enough. So when, obviously, and we were talking earlier about the whole financial accounting and all of that, please, 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 if you don't leave with nothing else in this room, get the contact information for everybody who has spoken, and get contact information for people in this room, because you're going to connect with the people who are going to connect the dots to help you grow. And that's it.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Fine. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm trying
How
to.
you doing?
My name is Courtney Lancaster. I am the CEO of CeeLo Media Productions, and I have a question in terms of the production that's being done today for the videography and the miking and things. When is this information? Is it going live? Is it going to be available at a website that if someone missed it today, they'd be able to access that? That's my first question. And then my second one is in terms of timelines with businesses. How can you put yourself on is there like a kind of checklist that we have available resources that you can go through and say, okay, I should have this by A, B, C, or D? If that makes sense, or is that too vague of a question? Yeah, okay, what's my asking?
We are live streaming now on Facebook. Okay, so everybody. Your second question, when you meet with the consultant from Sbdc, whether it's myself or Candace or one of our other associates, we'll be providing you with an action plan. So we'll talk to you, we'll interview you, we'll go through steps that you need to take to move to the next step. And we'll continue to do that, like I said, until you birth that baby.
And understand, if you start with SBA, we will give you information, find out the direction that you need to go in, and then we will refer you to our resource partners. Okay? So before you go to sit before Linda, you know how they act. You're gonna be ready. Okay?
Okay.
Last question. I saw you the other day. We can take 2 more. Okay. The birthday girl said, see, I'm just, you got 2 more. Okay.
And I'll make mine quick. So my name is Shernay DeLise, and so I am starting a cafe for families of small children. So I have 2 questions really quickly. So how long can we expect from applying to get a loan to actually getting cash in hand? How long would that take?
Well, it depends on the type of loan that you're applying for. If you're applying for an unsecured loan, it could be a lot quicker than a secured loan. A secured loan usually has collateral with it, so you are going to have to do an appraisal, things like that. So it could depend on what type of loan. And if you have one in mind, we can sit and talk about it. We'll have a table, so you can always come up and ask us.
Okay. And the last quick question for our CPA here. So with a startup, I was thinking initially, doing QuickBooks myself and possibly getting a tax accountant when tax time comes. But when would you say is a good time to say, okay, I need to get a CPA?
Now. There's actually a CPA, an accountant, about to be a CPA, sitting right behind you. So I would say get her contact information. A lot of times people say, I'm going to do it myself. And then 6 months later or 12 months later, when it's time to do your taxes, and you say, I need to send this information to the tax accountant, and all your chart of accounts are wrong, and expenses have been recorded as liabilities and assets have been recorded as expenses, you're gonna wind up paying more for that CPA to come in and fix it. So I would say start now talking to somebody. You may not need to pay for, a compilation service right now. It would just be client accounting, client advisory service that you would be paying for, and you can negotiate the prices for that.
Yes, so we have choices of PTAC, Sbdc, and all the great people around here. Where should we start? Where should we start our first engagement to talk about our business? Should we do Sbdc, PTAC, or who is the first point of contact?
Are you PG County?
I'm everywhere.
I know you're everywhere. I know you're
PG
everywhere.
and Montgomery
Okay,
County.
we'll talk with Jennifer. Or Candace.
So, depending on where you are in your stage of your business, so if you are, I have an idea, I'm starting my business, start with the Maryland Sbdc. But if you're in business already, you're already in business, you already have the funding, and now you're like, okay, now I'm ready to start looking for contracts. Then I'd say go ahead and start with then go ahead and reach out to PTAC. I work very closely with Arthenia in PTAC, so once you have your certifications, once you have some funding, maybe a line of credit, and you're like, okay, now I'm ready to start working on writing that proposal, looking for contracts to bid on, then I'll make that introduction for you to start working with our sister program, PTAC. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Last question, last call.
Hello, my name is Christina. I'm in the process of starting up CES Consulting Services. And my question is for State Farm. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
That's all right, State Farm.
So I'm surprised that nobody here has mentioned business insurance. So could you basically tell us what it is and what type of services need to think about it first? Because I'm not sure it's something I need.
That's one thing I was going to say towards the end if I wasn't called on to talk about business insurance, because that was number 2, what you had up there. And business insurance is a peace of mind. It's something that you need. Everybody needs it if you go in as a business owner. I've been in this industry for 30 years, and business insurance is not something that people don't talk about. And what it is actually is that you have a life cycle of a business insurance. You have your startup, you have your growth stage, everybody wants to grow. Then you're at your mature stage, and then you have your transfer stage. You're going to retire, you're going to pass it on to somebody else. Each of those stages of the life cycle of the business, you need to know what type of insurance you need. And the relationship you have with your agent or your insurance company is so key, because they're going to walk you through that. Because you're not going to think about business insurance every day. What are you thinking about? You're thinking about everything else that's going on with your business. And I've seen that over and over again. So that's what your agent, that's what your insurance company is for, and that's why you need that great relationship. In reference to what business insurance is, it's a gamut of things. First of all, you need your comprehensive liability and your property coverage. What you put all this time in your business, and say for instance you have a fire, you lose everything, or you have a nail salon or a beauty salon and you accidentally burn the person's scalp. Okay, that's professional liability coverage that everybody who's in the industry should have that endorsement. Your agent's going to be able to tell you that and tell you what you need for that. So that's number 1. Then you have to think about, okay, what about your employees? Well, in the state of Maryland, you have to have what? Workers' comp. So that is something else you have as a startup. We are in a litigious society, so you do need that liability. A lot of businesses that we have seen work from the home say, oh, I don't need business insurance. I have that endorsement on my policy, on my homeowner's policy. Well, guess what? That only covers you if it's on the premises of your home. So if you go to events If you are a photographer and you're doing this beautiful wedding and you have your camera set up like in the back there, somebody trips and falls over it, breaks their leg, guess who's going to be responsible for it? But you have business and you only have that endorsement on your homeowner's policy. It's not going to cover you. So that is a huge thing, and I have Nadia here with me from the State Farm Agent's Office who decided to come and me represent them for them, and she has information about what is needed for business in the residence, and she'll be happy to give that to you if you're, because a lot of companies start that way. It's the cheapest way to start out. You don't have a lot of overhead. So that's really what business insurance is about. It goes from the property, it goes from life, what if you have a partner? Okay, you need a buy-sell agreement. That's when your attorney, your CPA gets involved, and then the agent can write it for you and say, okay. But those are all different stages of where you are in reference to what insurance you need. So, so most important, just have that relationship. Get a good relationship with an agent, and they will help you out.
You guys have a table on site?
Excuse me?
You have a table on?
We do not. We're going to be walking around.
Well, just walk around, look for it. You know
Look for
what
it, folks. And there's Nadia right
Nadia. No, not now. I mean, I don't need to be rude or anything like that, but, we need to, for time's sake. Okay, so I want to, they're going to be walking around, hem them up, talk to them about, you're laughing at me. No, I'm just messing with you. Hem them up and ask questions to anybody that you see on this panel and not on the panel. I want to personally thank all of the panelists for their sacrifice, for coming out and supporting this event. This was a powerful event. Let's give Jennifer a part in this, because there's no I in team, so it took a team of people to pull this together. And give yourselves a hand, because you have taken another step toward your business. So we'll bring Jennifer back up.
Okay, well, first of all, let me thank Dion from Columbia Bank. She was part of the planning committee. And I appreciate working with her because she's a go-getter. I was like, oh, thank you, Lord. And we want to give a shout out to Jan, who you guys, she got her to run out of her shoe. I do want to say, did everyone, when you came in, you got an evaluation form, correct? Okay, when you're leaving, there's a red box by the door. Debra, you still have on your live mic. Okay, don't say anything too much. We're being recorded. But I have to tell you guys, it's very important for you to please fill out the evaluation front and back. This allows me to take these to my supervisors who are in the room. I'm not going to make eye contact with them. But this is very important because this way I can take the numbers and your comments back to them to justify doing this program again next year. Okay, so I just want to ask you, again, there's a red box. Just fill it out, drop it in. And believe me, we do, my phone is ringing, we do take a look at it. I was in a workshop once and they said, everybody turn your phone off. And my phone started going off. So I did what everybody else in the room did. I started looking around. I was like, I don't know whose phone it is. And then they realized it was me, so I'm caught again. But again, please fill it out. Thank you guys so much for coming. It's really, like I said, this is what it's about. I've been a woman, well, I am a woman. I've been a business owner. And you know, being a business owner on one side of the table, and now I'm on the other side of the table helping my clients. And some of the challenges that you guys had, I walked that walk. And I think that's one thing my clients like about me is that I pull from my own experience. So when I get those phone calls of distress, I've been there. So I can help guide them through it. You know, all of the panelists, I work with all of them. The Mayor's Resource Center, I'll be doing a workshop there on Thursday called The Art of the Side Hustle, because that's a way to start your business when you have a full-time job. Again, thank you so much for coming out. Go across the hall to the resource tables. Being in business is all about networking, because if nobody knows you have a business, you don't have a business. Okay? So have a great day. Please come over and chat with me. Wishing everyone much success.
Yeah, for the stream.
Isn't that amazing, man?
Yeah.
My phone
Right. When you can do this one. So I'm like, yeah, this is going to be my way of knowledge. Oh, really? Yeah, but that's where he wanted to use Wirecast as the system, but he had to jump out of that and use open source Wirecast, and it worked. We only did one camera. You know what I'm saying? We were really just they couldn't figure it out.
Facebook is over.
Yeah,
I like Facebook. YouTube. No, that's Facebook and YouTube. Ustream is great.
Is it? Yeah, it's like $900 a year.
Yeah, that's how we started off.
Yeah.
I would have brought Jay today. He's around.
Oh, he's out? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see him, man. I ain't seen him.
But he's like a
he's like a jazz musician.
Yeah. For me, Jay take up at 5:30.
Yeah. know what? I don't have any cards on me. Give me yours.
Did you abandon me? Or
No, I'm still here. I'm still here, Remy.
I need your number. Did you abandon me or did I abandon you?
I think we both